And now, much like Jeff Bezos on his overcompensation rocket, we came out for the jazz music. Hopefully you can hear it. We're about 2 hours into the session. We have won a few hands pre-flop. That's it. Not a whole lot going on, only down about 100. We're pretty card dead, so hopefully we can get back in there and get a win. We have about 400 left in our stack when we come to this hand. An opponent opens to $20 from middle position. He's been a little bit more aggressive than most, playing quite a few hands and betting a little on the large side. I go ahead and make the call with the ace of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. He's got 1250, so he covers us, and we have the potential to get a nice double up if we end up hitting a flush. The flop comes down ace of spades, deuce of spades, 6 of clubs, and the original raiser bets $40. I'm going to make the call here. Even though it's a really big bet, there's no guarantee that he's going to keep up this level of aggression. We'll see what we have. We have top pair, and I just can't go away that quickly and that easily. So I do make the call. The turn is the 9 of hearts, and now I'm going to have to evaluate depending on what he does. If he goes really big again, I'm going to have to get out of the way. However, he does decide to check, and I am happy to check behind. I have to think to myself for a little bit before I do check that a lot of his really strong aces are going to be continuing. However, he can have some aces where he may choose to pot control. The river comes down the deuce of diamonds, and he bets $60. He may have some missed spade draws since there were 2 spades on the flop and did not improve. There's just not a ton of hands other than a good ace, and most of those aces are probably going to be betting the turn. So I do make the call here, and he ends up showing a 6-4 offsuit, which is a little bit surprising. And now, much like Jeff Bezos on his overcompensation rocket, launching into space, we have put ourselves on a new trajectory. In the second hand of the night, we have the queen of diamonds and the ace of clubs. There's an open from the hijack to $15, and then a call in between. I'm in the big blind, and I make it $65. My reasoning behind this is that I want to... this is a hand where I could just call. I think it can be a little challenging, though, because we're going to try to navigate out of position multi-way. And these higher Broadway cards and premium cards like an ace and a queen, these are going to be cards that you want to try to get heads up. They play much better that way, especially when they're not suited. We want to try to get this heads up. So I do make it $65. My opponent calls, and the original caller ends up folding. The flop comes down ace of spades, 8 of spades, deuce of clubs. I bet $110 into the pot, and I don't love my sizing here. I think this is a mistake. I think I should be betting smaller than I did, and it does take it down. My thought process at the time, this opponent had been calling some larger bets when they had even like medium hands and draws and things like that, and I think I got a little bit greedy. I think a more appropriate size into a pot of 145 is going to be something more like $70. Because we're out of position, we want to go a little bit larger than a third of a pot, so we're going to look closer to a half. In retrospect, not in love with the way that I played it. We do end up scooping the chips after he folds, and so it does work out, but if I could have that one back, I would probably play it differently and look to get a little more value from a weak ace and even some of those medium pairs, things like that. Try to give them a better price to call so that we can get a little more value from them. All right, in the third hand of the night, we have LL Cool J's. That's right, pocket jacks and 700 in our stack. An opponent bets $30 from middle position, which is a pretty big open for this game. It was straddled, but still that is a rather large open. We're playing 1-3-6, and going straight to $30 is not a standard open. There is a caller in the hijack, and now it gets to me in the cutoff with the jacks, and I'm going to re-raise this one to $110. Both players decide to make the call, which is not ideal for pocket jacks, but we will see what happens on the flop here. So we go to the flop, which comes down 7 deuce 3 with 2 clubs. And it checks over to me. On this board, I'm going to go ahead and make a bet of $175. I'm content to take this pot down now. And so I'm going to play it a little bit on the aggressive side. An original raiser had $250 left in his stack. So when I bet the $175, I'm basically trying to make it look like he either needs to jam, or if he calls, that the rest of his chips should be going in as well. And the other opponent actually had a pretty good sized stack, so I didn't want to incentivize him to call by betting too thin. And jacks are just a vulnerable hand. And the original raiser now jams for a total of 250, so 75 more for me to call. And I do make the call. We see an absolutely gorgeous turn, which is the jack of diamonds to pick up a set. And then the river is a queen. Our opponent mucks, never shows when I turn up the jacks. And we are good, scooping a nice big pot here for a lot of chips. Really getting our night going where we want it to be. Alright, in this hand, I'm going to give you just a very brief description of what took place, and then I'm actually going to turn it over to you guys to comment on it. I'm going to end up breaking this one down in the future video. I have a ton of thoughts on this hand. Okay, so in this hand, we have the ace of hearts, jack of hearts. There's $1,100 in my stack, and I'm in the big blind. There is an open from the cutoff to $25, and I make the call. The flop is the 9 of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. I check to him, and he decides to check this one back. The turn comes down the jack of clubs. I decide to check again. Our opponent bets $50, and I make the call. The river is the ace of clubs. I think for a moment, decide to check once more, and our opponent now bets $150 with about $225 more in his stack. I think for quite a while. I make the call and turn over my hand. It is good. He has ace queen, so he had top pair with a decent kicker. And I don't want to tell you my thoughts on this now. I mean, I do, definitely do, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave this one in your hands. Comment below. Tell me that this was the most brilliant play you've ever seen, or that I'm an idiot, or whatever you think. Give me your analysis on this hand. In this one, we have red kings, $1,400 in our stack, and we're on the button. It folds around to us, and I make it $15 from the button. An opponent decides to call in the big blind, and he has about 1,100 behind. The flop comes down, ace of clubs, queen of hearts, 4 of spades. He checks to me, and I'm going to go ahead and check this one back, even though this is favoring my range. He could easily have a weak ace here, and I'd rather pot control. I have a strong hand. I definitely want to get to showdown, and so I'm going to go ahead and check this one behind. He leads on the turn when it comes down at 9 for $25 into $30. I make the call. My hand is too strong to be folding at this point. We've under-repped it, but it's also too weak to be raising. If he does have an ace, he's going for value and getting us, so we don't want to bloat the pot for sure. But he goes ahead and checks on the river, which is a 6. So now I'm trying to think. He's got some weak aces potentially. He's going to have some queens. And so I'm kind of torn in between. Do I go for value or do I not? Really all I'm looking to target is a queen. And it's going to have to be a strong enough queen to actually hold up and decide it wants to call on the river here. For those reasons, I decided to just check this one back. It stinks to keep the pot so small when you have such a pretty hand like kings. I do check back. He has queen 10 offsuit, so unfortunately I could have gone for some value, but I don't hate the play thinking about what his range is composed of.
Time to rack 'em and stack 'em.
Hey, what's up everybody? Turned that night around, made a nice profit. We were into that game for 600, out for 1340, so a profit of 740. Why am I standing in front of this pure black wall? I have the answer for that question and a bunch more coming up this month. It's going to be the most exciting month of the channel so far. I have a ton of stuff to bring you guys, and I can't wait to do it. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button so that you don't miss anything coming up this month. I've got a ton coming your way. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.